Yo, buddy, TMZ News. How does it feel that your friend Corey is coming off a scorching $4,700 loss? Hello, welcome to another video. We are in the middle of nature right now. We could literally turn around and see Bigfoot. Yeah, Jeffrey took off that way. We're gonna be doing the intro solo now. Coming off a very big loss, my biggest ever, and it's not even close. I am going to play like a literal maniac today. Let's play lag. It's like tag with an L. It means loose aggressive. We're going to get involved in a lot more hands. Play like an absolute maniac. It's going to be a very fun vlog. Stay tuned. I'm going up to the window knowing damn well I'm kissing these Benjamin Franklins goodbye for the last time. I've done this process at least 5 times over the past 24 hours. This game sucks. Full disclosure, this first episode is like the rough draft of an essay. You're just throwing words on a paper trying to get out all your ideas. I have a lot of mistakes. But hey, full transparency, I'm trying out a completely new style, going into this session with a completely new mindset. Let's see what happens. My goals for this session are to play a much wider range than I usually do, bluff a lot more, create a great table image, and put myself in spots that I normally don't find myself in. In the first hand of note, we look down at King 3 suited in the cutoff. We raise it up to $20, only the big blind makes the call. Going heads up to a flop, which comes Jack 8 something. This board connects with me in absolutely no way, shape, or form. I have 0 backdoor draws, 0 equity. I'm dead. So I should check fold. But going into this session, I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to win every pot. I'm going to play super aggressively, super aggro. The big blind checks. I bet $15, and he makes the call. Going off to a turn card, which, surprise, surprise, doesn't help us in any capacity. But when the big blind checks, I close my eyes and bet $50. This time, the big blind snap folds. We win the pot with sheer aggression and king high. Next, we look down at ace 5 of clubs on the button. I raised it up to $30. The blinds and the straddler make the call. Going 4 ways to a flop, which comes ace 4-3, 2 spades, and a club. Action checks to me. I bet $60. Then the straddler check jams for $250. I've seen this player do some wacky stuff, and most realistically, he's just on a flush draw, looking to get it in while he's not that far behind. And if we are behind, well, I have a gut shot to the stone cold nutter butter cajone lone bone. So if we get it in bad, how bad really is it? You know what I'm saying? I make the call. Everyone else folds, and we go heads up to a run out. The turn comes the 2 of clubs, and the river is the 2 of hearts. The straddler flips over 5 deuce offsuit. Wow, he flopped the straight. I turned the straight plus a straight flush draw. Truly a whirlwind of emotions for a chopped pot. You gotta love it though. Next we have Jack 10 offsuit on the button. Hijack raises to $20. The cutoff makes the call. I get in there as well. Then the small blind jams for $85. Everyone else folds. And this is the one nerd section I'll do. One math section, okay, I promise. We have to call $65 to win a total pot of $210. We have to be good at least 30% of the time. Small blind has a short stack, which means he can be jamming really wide, like ace X unsuited or smaller pocket pairs. Against ace X we're this, against lower pairs we're this. It's a slam dunk call, baby. Hashtag pot odds. We make the call. And we go off to another run out. Turns out the small blind has pocket fives. So it's an old-fashioned flip. Let's sweat another tournament-style run-out, baby. Give me the 5 cards. Not even a sweat this time, as the flop comes 10, 10, 7. Hello, and good night. This goes to show you, just close your eyes and jam Jack 10 offsuit. You probably will win a big pot. Or you might not, though, and you'll lose 1,000. But hey, this is the game that we all sign up for. Next interesting spot, we have ace 9 of spades under the gun. I raise it up to $20. Only the button makes the call. Flop comes queen 8-2 with 1 spade. Not really much else going on for our hand, but I c-bet $15 just in case my opponent whiffed and also to keep my range wide. Button decides to make the call. Turn peels off the 10 of hearts. If it was a 10 of spades, I would definitely bet, but past me really doesn't care about any of that and says, we're going to bet this one. $50 leaves my stack and enters the middle of the pot. This is against the same opponent who folded to my bet last time. This time he makes the call. Really looking for some help here on the river, and the 7 of hearts peels off. When we size up on the turn and he calls, that's an indication that he has something. I really don't think we should try to get him off his hand here, but hey, past me said, screw it, let's go for it. I decide to buckle up and nut up and fire one more bullet, baby. This time, I overbet pot with a sizing of $225. The button immediately looks displeased. I think this one might get through until he flicks in a chip for the call. We proudly flip over ace-9, and the button shows queen-8 offsuit for flopped 2 pair. Yikes. He said if he had a queen that he would have folded. Really dislike how I played this one, though. A complete unnecessary punt. But hey, I'm trying to play a lot looser, play a lot more aggressive. These are mistakes that I'm going to make. We can all laugh about it. We do the thing that we've gotten quite used to in the past few episodes. We reload for $400. In the game for $1,400. Hopefully this is it. Here we have 5-4 offsuit in the big blind. The button raises to $20. Small blind calls, and I throw in the extra 15 as well. Flop comes king 4 deuce with 2 spades. Action checks over to the button, who throws out a bet of $40. Small blind folds. When I flop a pair, I'm certainly going to peel one street to see what develops. I stick in the money. We go heads off to a turn card, which comes the deuce of diamonds. I check it over to the button once again. This time, he checks it back. After checking back this turn card, I don't think he ever has a king, as those would likely continue betting on such a brick turn. And I've played with this player before. I think he would also continue betting with his flush draws, so I don't think he has one of those. I think the most probable holding is a hand like 8s through jacks, a pair lower than the king that just wants to get to showdown. So with that in mind, if the river is good, then I think we can certainly apply some pressure. River peels off the 7 of spades. So the front door flush gets there, and action is on me. If I call the button on the flop, what hands am I going to have? I'm going to have flush draws or a king. And now the button loses to both. I don't think my 4 is good, but I think our hand has the correct properties to turn into a bluff. I fire out a pot-sized bet of $150. The button goes into the tank. He looks uncomfortable and eventually lets his cards go. Glad we got this one through. Here we have king 4 of spades under the gun. I know what you're thinking. Yes, it's far too wide. I also know what you're thinking. No, I don't care. I raise to $20. The cutoff button and big blind make the call. Flop comes jack 10-6 with 1 spade. This is a flop where I should check fold, but this is my first time playing loose aggressive. I was thinking, yo, I have to play super aggressive. I have to win every pot. I was setting up triple barrels every time I saw a flop. I have a suited king, so any queen, any 9, any spade, we're to continue blasting. 4 ways is definitely ambitious, but again, I'm a super ambitious man. I bet $40. The cutoff and button make the call, going off to a turn card, which comes the 6 of spades. Well, I said I would continue blasting if it were a spade or another scare card. This falls into the former category. Also, from the cutoff and button's perspective, if the under-the-gun raiser bets into 4 players, then continues betting on the turn, doesn't that look pretty strong? I think it does. With another bet here, I think we could get hands as strong as 10-9, queen jack maybe to fold. I size up to $150. No need to go super large because again, we're betting into 2 people. This time the cutoff folds and the button calls, narrowing the field one by one as we go, and the river peels off the 4 of clubs. That's awkward. We no longer have king high, but we have a pair of 4s. The button, which I didn't realize until now, only has $250 behind. That kind of sucks. If he's calling the turn with $250 behind, I don't think he's ever folding a jack. Plus, we now have showdown value. I decide to check it, and the button quickly checks it back. I flip over my hand with pride, and the button shows 10-8 offsuit. The cutoff folded queen jack. That's the hand we wanted to get to fold, and the button was very sticky. The player in the cutoff who folded queen jack was in awe. He was in disbelief. His jaw dropped as soon as I flipped over king 4. He was like, bro, I am never giving you credit again. I was like, rightfully so. The very next shuffle, we look down at pocket aces under the gun. Yeah. The great thing about playing loose and playing aggressive is people call you down far lighter. They're like, this kid has absolute air. And generally they're right. But in this case, we have a monster. I raised to $20. The cutoff from last hand blind calls. Then the button 3-bets to $125. When I flipped over king 4 from last hand, I saw the button make a really weird expression. Like, what the hell is this guy doing? Does he know how to play poker? So I think he's also going to be 3-betting me super light, which means that I can 4-bet light. Luckily for me, I have the best hand that you can possibly have pre-flop. The button had around $1,000 to start the hand. I definitely want to play for all of it. I put in the 4-bet to $300. Action folds the button, who thinks about his options, then makes the call. We go heads up out of position in a 4-bet pot, and the flop comes ace 5-2. We flop top set in a 4-bet pot. I don't think a bet accomplishes much here, believe it or not. We're going to fold out hands like jacks, queens, and kings. I highly doubt that he has ace-king, and if he does, God bless our soul, because we're probably getting all the money regardless. I'm going to give the button the opportunity to bluff with all of his hands, just in case I had hands like queens or kings. I decide to check. The button immediately jams. I knock over my stack in excitement. I could not call quicker. We have aces. We have top set. I don't know what to tell you. The run out comes clean, and the river actually gives us a boat, just in case our top set was not good. Well, now we have a motor vehicle that drives in water. We take down a massive $2,000 pot. Nice. 2 hands later, same orbit, we have pocket 6s on the button. I raised it up to $20. Both the small and big blind make the call. Flop, once again, treats us real nice. 9-6-2. Yeah, we are running good. Action checks to me. I put out a bet of $30, and only the small blind makes the call with around $850 behind. This is the same player who folded queen jack, so with that in mind, we go heads up to a turn which peels off another 9. The small blind checks to me. On this board, if the small blind happens to have a 9 or pocket 2s, I want max value. Regardless of the bet size on this turn, I highly doubt he's ever folding a 9 or pocket deuces. I size up to $150. It doesn't look like the small blind has much though, as he quickly makes the fold. I still like my bet. We move on to the next hand. It was around this time that Floor came over and told me that I have to move tables because I was playing on a must move and got moved to the main game. I looked at him like a sad puppy at the shelter. I was like, no, what do you mean? I build up a beautiful image where everyone thinks I'm a maniac and then I have to leave? No! Oh God, no! I was in disbelief. My table was great, didn't want to move, but we take one last hand as a going out gift on our glorious table. It's Queen 3 of Hearts. I raise, 3 people call, flop comes ace, ace, king. I bet, everyone folds, I show, lulls, queen high, super good. we move to the main game.
Here at the main game, we have 10-7 of diamonds on the button. Action folds to me. I raise it up to $20. Once again, both of the blinds make the call. Flop comes king 4-2 with 2 diamonds. Both the blinds check to me. On a flop like this, I would rather continuation bet it if someone calls. They'll most likely check the turn, and it gives me the option to check it back and see a free river, realize my equity, instead of having to call a lead. If I check, it gives both players a chance to see a free turn card with hands that they shouldn't be in the hand with. They could turn a pair, they could turn more equity. I'd rather keep control of the betting lead. I c-bet $40. To my surprise, both the small blind and big blind make the call. The turn is the 10 of hearts, bringing a backdoor flush draw on board, and now we also turn a pair. Action checks to me once again, and with 2 callers plus us turning showdown value, I'm just going to check this back to realize our equity. The river is a spicy one. It's the 9 of diamonds. Small blind checks a third time, but the big blind fires $150. Oh my, this is kind of an awkward situation. The small blind is behind me and has to act after me. So if the small blind check raises, that would be disgusting. But I have a flush. I'm not going to fold. I stick in the money, and the small blind also calls. The big blind flips over 4-2 of hearts. The small blind shows 6-5 of diamonds, and we win with the highest flush. Nice.
This next hand, you'd think I was in a meat shop because I absolutely butcher it. Buckle up.
I have king jack of diamonds on the button. The hijack raises to $20. If I call, that gives the players behind me a great price to see a flop. I'd rather take this hand heads up in position rather than multi-way. For that reason, I 3-bet to 60, and only the hijack makes the call. Going heads up to a flop, which comes queen 9-6. I c-bet $40, which I would do with 100% of my range, and the hijack makes the call. The turn peels off a 7. Hijack checks to me once again, and this card is better for his range than it is for mine, so I just decide to check it back. The river is quite the interesting one. It's the king of clubs. Now the hijack leads for $185. Ugh. As soon as he bet here, I got a bad feeling. I don't know how to explain it other than that deep intuitive feeling in your gut where you just know that it's not good news. It's bad news bears. We have top pair here, but it feels no good. For whatever f***ing reason, I said, oh, I have a jack. I could easily have jack 10 here. I'm trying way too hard to turn hands into bluffs. I have top pair, and I'm thinking about turning it into a bluff. It doesn't make sense. This is either a call or a fold. Those 2 options I'm okay with. But I go ahead and turn top pair into a bluff and jam for $1,000 and get snap called by jack 10 offsuit. Jesus Christ. It's kind of hard to get folds when the other player has the hand that you're representing. Wow, we butchered that. Absolutely torched $1,000. What the hell was that?
To become a master, you must be willing to be a fool, really looking to develop into the former. But the latter, we got that title down pat. Don't even worry about it. We are cruising with that title at the moment.
Here's another interesting hand. We have pocket 7s in the small blind. Cutoff raises to $30. The button calls, I call, and the big blind and straddler also call. We're going essentially heads up to a flop of king 3-2 with 2 clubs. Action checks all the way around, surprisingly. The turn is yet another deuce. Action checks to the straddler, who now throws out $50. Action folds to me, and on this card, I know it sounds silly, but this player in particular, I think it's most likely that he has a 2. There is a flush draw on board, and we have the 7 of clubs. So if a third club comes off on the river, I think we can bet it and represent the flush. Or, if we hit a 7 on the river, I think our hand will be super disguised and we can absolutely bet pot or overbet and get called by a deuce. I make the call, everyone else folds, hoping to see a club or a 7. It peels off the queen of clubs. Exactly what we're looking for. Let's represent the flush. For whatever reason, I got scared and I was like, well, if he has a 2, he'll probably bet and then maybe I can raise, like check raise. I would never check raise a flush on a paired board. I would always raise fold. Ugh. I check, and the straddler snap checks back and shows Jack 2 offsuit.
I hate it there, man. Yeah, but I like only a flush draw calls me.
Yep, that is my point. Only a flush draw calls you, so when the flush draw gets there, should probably bet it, and even a hand as strong as a 2 could find a fold. Next hand, we have King 9 of hearts on the small blind. Action folds to me. I raise it up to $35. Both the big blind and straddler make the call. Flop comes King 6-5 with 2 diamonds and a spade. I see bet $50. Only the straddler makes the call. The turn is not a great one. It's the 3 of diamonds, bringing in the front door flush. This time, I decide to check it over to the straddler, see how he acts, but he decides to check it back. The river peels off the jack of spades. Once again, I just want to get to showdown, so I check it over to the straddler, and he throws out $100. This is an annoying spot because I don't think this player is bluffing ever, like ever. But I'm getting a great price, and I think I have to defend here, but I just fold. The straddler later told me that he turned pocket 2s with the 2 of diamonds into a bluff. Really just getting, That's what we call the sound of defeat. Truthfully, just an agonizing screech, a whimper of pain. Let's move on to the next hand. Next hand, we have 10-8 of diamonds in the hijack. I raise to $20. Both the button and under the gun make the call. Flop comes 8-6-3 with 2 spades. Once again flopping top pair on a draw-heavy board. I throw out $40. This time only the button makes the call. The turn peels off the ace of diamonds. Ugh, such a horrible card because now even hands like the nut flush draw beat us. I slow down and check for pot control, but the button decides to check it back. Okay. We go off to a river, which comes the 10 of hearts. Wow. We river 2 pair, and the front door flush missed. When the front door flush draw bricks out, I think I can get away with betting really large, because if the button has a flush draw, he's going to fold to any sizing, but if he doesn't have a flush draw and has the ace, or really any showdown, then he's going to be able to call a bet. If we had a flush draw, the only sizing that makes sense is really large. So I bet $150. Honestly, I don't like this size. I like 225 or even 300. My 2 pair is super disguised, but being honest, being transparent, I really wanted to make sure that I got called by ace-x here. So I put in a pot-sized bet. The opponent does not think too long before making the call. I show, and he flips over ace-king offsuit. Wow, we are good, but honestly, I think this is a spot where I should go 300 here. If I have a bricked out flush draw, I want to bet 2x pot and really actually put pressure on hands. I think a pot-sized bet gets called far too often. 2x pot with my missed flush draws, and 2x pot right here. This is what 300. In the last hand of the night, we have ace-jack offsuit in the cutoff. 2 limps to me. I raise it up to $35. Both the small blind and hijack make the call. Flop comes ace-4-3, rainbow. This is a board where I think we're going to be either way ahead or way behind. I think I'm going to play this one tricky and check it back. Turn peels off the 9 of clubs, bringing in a flush draw, and that's really about it. The small blind seems to like this card, as he bets $50. Then the hijack jams for $105. This is kind of weird. Even though there's been a bet, then a raise, I can't ever fold because I checked the flop and underrepped my hand, so don't think I can do anything other than call. Small blind also calls, and the river peels off an offsuit too. Small blind checks. I don't really see the value in putting in a bet here. I play this one cautiously and check it back. Small blind announces that he missed. Hijack shows ace-6 offsuit, and we flip over the winner. Nice to take down a sizable pot to end the session. This one was quite the roller coaster.
After everything was all said and done, in the game for 2,200, out for 1,835 for an overall loss of 365. Would have had a very big win if I didn't absolutely blunder and punt. But hey, we learn, we move on. Let's get it next episode.